I'm sitting down with Pernot-Day, Shein's head of strategic and corporate affairs of North America and Europe. We're going to talk about what it means to lead inside a brand that moves fast, scales globally, and operates under intense public pressure. From digital transformation to regional trust building, Peter will share how Shein is navigating the intersection of growth, governance, and global expectations. We'll pull the headlines back to talk about strategy, scrutiny, and what it means to lead when your brand is both admired and challenged equally. Welcome, Peter.
Hey, thank you so much for having us. It's great to be here today. Looking forward to our chat.
I am as well. Shein is one of the most influential and highly scrutinized names in global retail. You're leading corporate affairs at one of the most watched companies in the world. Let's start with your role. Tell me about your role and responsibilities at Shein.
And one of the best parts about working at Shein is that no one works alone. We work on teams, and we have a great and dynamic public affairs, corporate affairs, and that group of people and professionals that's really all over the world works tirelessly every day to make sure that our company, our values, and our vision are both shared with the public and lived out in our daily operation as a business. So it'd be great to say that this is just all on me, but really it's a team effort.
It takes a village.
Really, it does.
But you're leading the culture of what you're doing.
I don't see it as me leading the culture. It's more of me representing the values of the business. And I agree with those values, and so it's easy to live them out. But I think the real joy of working at Shein is that there's so many people who are committed to making fashion accessible, making fashion responsibly, and also making sure that our customers can afford the looks that they love. And I think that combination of things makes our job somewhat easier. And I mean, obviously, that we have challenges and that we are faced with questions, but the group of people that we've put together across the company are really well positioned to address those. So it makes my job a lot easier than I think it could be.
Let's share some of those values, two that inspire you the most.
So I think our top value as a company is customer first. We want to make sure that the customers that we have and the loyalty that they've given us is well earned, that we can attract new customers, and that we can make sure that they are happy with the clothes that they wear every day. That's our primary goal. You could call it our North Star. And from there, there's a bunch of other values. I break them down into three broad buckets. The first one is accessible. We want to make sure that our clothes are available in a wide range of sizes, that they reflect diverse tastes, that they are culturally appropriate and sensitive, and that they're easy to purchase, and that they can be purchased on mobile devices in a language that you understand, and in a currency and payment method that you want to use. So that's the accessibility component. I think the next is obviously affordable. We want to make sure, particularly in an era where people are concerned about the cost of living, price of everything seems to be rising, that they can find clothes at an affordable price point that make them look and feel good, and that are also really high quality. We don't want to sacrifice quality for affordability. And we think that that's a misperception about the business, is that because it's lower cost, it must be low quality. And I just don't think that's true. I think the final part is being responsible. We're a global company. We have teams all over the world. We understand our role both in the market, we understand our role with our customers, and we are using our innovative spirit to drive real change, be it our on-demand business model and its reduction in waste, to innovations we've made in fabric-to-fabric recycling, to the ways in which we give back to our communities, both in Europe, the United States, and our suppliers. So I think those three kind of pillars all flow from that principal value of being customer first, and I think that it really resonates and explains a lot why our customers love us so much.
Well, congratulations on being recognized as one of America's top best customer service companies in 2025. So to achieve that, you need to build out your infrastructure, and it all needs to funnel up through customer focus. We touched on that. Is there anything else you'd like to add as it relates to being recognized for this award?
I was just so thrilled to get that reward, and I think that speaks to us living out our vision, of being a customer-first company, and I was really, really pleased to get that and honored to get it.
Being one of the most watched companies for its disruption and complex reputation, while having your role, can make for interesting bedfellows. Let's talk about the reputation and reality. We can talk about either risk management, mitigation of risk, government, regulation? I'll let you lead.
And you're interested in how do we interact with civil society and stakeholders to share our message? Is that really what you're looking for, or is it more just how we conceive of our place in the market?
I think the second one would be more valuable to the listeners.
Yeah, sure. So we see ourselves as a fashion, beauty, and lifestyle company that has risen to prominence because of our disruptive spirit. We innovated a model that we call the on-demand business model, which focuses on micro-producing garments. So instead of having thousands or tens of thousands of units in a run, we typically will make 100 or 200. We'll put those onto our website, offer them for sale to our customers, and allow our customers to engage with them to determine if there's actual demand for that design or that look. And this has a number of benefits, but the principal benefit is it allows us to offer a wide variety of products to address changing tastes and to give our designers the freedom to experiment and chase new or potentially emerging trends in a way that's really revolutionary at a very attractive price point. And so I think that positioning in the market has led to questions about how are you able to achieve these economies of scale, these price points? How are you able to be so resonant with shoppers and online consumers, particularly Gen Z? And I think what that reflects is we are innovating the way in which garment production has been for the past 100 years or so. And instead of focusing on supply, making sure that we have enough stock, we're really focused on demand and trying to match our supply chain precisely to demand. And I think that has, rightfully so, people have questions about that. When they hear the message, when they understand what we're about, when they see the work that we're doing both on our technologies and working on our impacts and our responsible sourcing programs, a lot of those questions that you hear in the media have melted away. And so I think that's one of the best parts of the public affairs team globally's role is explaining all this.
So people are at Shop Talk now, brands and retailers are at Shop Talk, let's say retailers who have private label. Meeting demand is a top priority, and they're seeking technology to help them, whether it's AI to predict or some other hardscape to speed up the production. I don't know that everyone has a full understanding of what you're doing because they would want to employ more of that. It's like, is that truly coveted, NDA information that we in the world and press and others can't know more about?
Well, obviously there's elements of our business that are our secret sauce, so to speak, and we don't share the secret recipe. But I think in the broad brushes, the concept is have a platform for audience engagement, and that could be physical retail, it could be a mobile application, it could be a web storefront, and try to really understand, using those systems, what your customers are interested in. And then in the production side, I think a central innovation that we have is we have brought into close synchronicity through technology designers, customers, and our manufacturers. And instead of having a designer-led vision, instead of having a manufacturer-led vision, instead of having a purely customer-led vision, all three are in communication, and that's facilitated through this technology. I think that approach is what enables the demand-focused business that we have, and it's something that anyone can adopt. I think that there's lots of challenges and lots of nuance and lots of work that goes into that, but it's that orientation of reconceiving how garments are made, how demand is measured, and where in conversation suppliers and designers and customers sit can reap tremendous benefits for the entire industry, be it from waste reduction to reducing inventory levels to improving access for traditionally marginalized groups who have struggled to find clothing. I think all of those things are made possible through this on-demand approach.
Would it be okay to call this a pod? You have like 3 groups in a pod. Would that be safe to just ask some questions?
I don't see it so much as a pod. I think that, if I'm guilty of anything, it's knowing the system well and its complexities. I've really struggled to find an analogy that works for it. Right now, we're sort of playing with this idea of a circle where there's a feedback loop. You have The designer distills a design. They work with the contract manufacturer via tech pack to produce an initial run. That initial run is then offered for sale, and then customers give their feedback, and that's all fed back to both the contract manufacturer and the designer. I don't know if that fully captures it, but that circularness to it seems to do the best job that we've come up with yet. But we're open to suggestions.
Fine. So, that's not really that breakthrough. That really still happens. Their tech pack is a tech pack, but the speed is really the novelty. Where I was going with my question was, do you have groups or pods or these circles based on category? So women's tops, women's bottoms, men's, are they vertically oriented, so they're very focused on a particular area of the offering?
So the process in categories starts with the designers. So the designers are split into product category groups and work on product categories or on sub-brands and capsule collections. And those designers will produce a technical pack, and that technical pack will then be sent to our virtual merchant management system. And this is another innovation that we've brought to the table, is we're able to connect through a digital platform that we've built ourselves, both the cut, make, and trim producers, all of the tier 2 ancillary suppliers and embellishment suppliers, and all of the tier 3 fabric and material suppliers. And that allows us to use our size to get incredible pricing, but also to make highly efficient flows of materials. So the CMT facility is able to go and make this small batch very quickly. They don't have to spend time purchasing materials or sourcing materials. It's all done through this platform. And I think that is the element that we're really excited about. And those are category specific. So the CMT facilities, you may have one that's focused on women's wear, you may have one that's focused on athleisure or swimwear, you name it. So it's really the designer and the CMT that will be the category specific.
Let's discuss perception and criticism over circularity or sustainability or supply chains. Shein has been questioned for its transparency. How do you lead strategic affairs in an environment with the current public perception?
So going back to those values that we were talking about at the opening, I think that you start with your value, and our value is to be responsible. And that means that we understand our impacts, we take our impacts seriously, and we seek to innovate to reduce them. I think that is something that involves transparency, which is why we've published a very comprehensive ESG report for the last 3 years. Your readers can check it out on sheingroup.com. It details our impacts, our impact mitigation strategies, the work that we do on a multiple set of factors, and we measure those across time. I think it also stems to investment. We've invested and plan to invest more in circular systems, including launching a $250 million or 200 million euro circularity fund to try to bolster an innovation economy around material science. And I think we've also looked for partnerships. We've partnered with Dongguan University in China to demonstrate an industrial scale version of garment-to-garment recycling. And I think for those in the circularity space, this has been a long-standing challenge of being able to take a garment like you would a plastic water bottle and be able to extend its life over multiple iterations and essentially replace the need for virgin material. We've been able, through our scale and our partnership with Dongguan, to demonstrate this at an industrial level. And I think it has a lot of potential to drive meaningful change. No longer will there be these very expensive green capsule collections or garments that may be out of people's price point because of the materials they use. We're talking about ready-to-wear retail, mass market, that's made with a much more circular, much more sustainable material. And to us, that's really the direction that we want to focus on. And we're excited about it.
That seems to be very interesting. 2 more questions. The conversation either paints Shein as revolutionary force or a villain. What's one misconception you think the public or press gets consistently wrong about the company? We touched on some things, but when you're coming from that you can't move the needle, it's just still sitting there.
I'm an optimist, and I always see that needle moving. It's a dynamic situation, and I think that, looking back over my almost 4 years now at Shein, so much has changed, both in the conversation about us, the perception about us, and Some ways it's gotten better, some ways it's been more challenging, and I'm sure there will be challenges to come. But I do think that there is one central misperception, and it really stems from this sort of outdated label of fast fashion. I don't know precisely what fast fashion means. I know there are many definitions of it, but I think that using that term has masked our innovation and our contribution to a new way of making clothes. And that can be good and bad. I mean, I think it's challenging because it makes it hard for people to understand what we really do. There's maybe a cognitive bias, if you will, when that term is applied, and a set of assumptions just flow from there. And I'm not saying that we don't have challenges. We do. But I think that fast fashion label has really been a main misperception and denied people the opportunity to really look at our business for what it is and how it's innovating and how it's able to address customer tastes and be customer-centric.
And do you work towards changing that? Are you working towards changing that? My next question is, what's next for 2025 or 2026? But if you could change that perception in a year or two, that would be a great accomplishment, no?
I think that would be an amazing accomplishment. And I think it would open us up to a whole level of conversations about other things that we can focus on and other ways that we can improve the business. I think it would also open us up to an enhanced set of partnerships. And that's an area where we're really excited about going into the rest of 2025 and 2026 is working with leading brands and other retailers on our marketplace, increasing our product category options, launching new sub-brands, be they from Misguided or Musera or others, looking at great collaborations like the one we have with Anita in Brazil to rescue dead stock and create one of our best-selling collections in the United States. All of these things, I think, speak to us being open, being a much more available and accessible business, and really helping a new generation of retailers, a new generation of designers, a new generation of contract manufacturers reach our audience.
Thank you very, very much for your time.
It's been great to be here with you. Thank you for the thoughtful questions. I enjoyed our chat.
Of course, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.